I don't believe poverty exists in England.
Ooh.
In my 20s, I worked 5 jobs to get out of poverty. I had kids at 22.
Wow.
I'm willing to die for my business. When I grew up in poverty, you believe that if you don't succeed, the alternative is death.
What do you think of Gary's economics?
He's a clown. I started from 14k in debt. The best investment you can make by far is buying a house. Better than the stock market. Within 4 properties, I went from 160k to 1.4 million. The top 10 companies in the world all have something in common. They're all tech companies. If you want to make big money, like billions, you have to be a tech company. My target for PAYE is 100x return for my investors. It took me 10 years to research, get the money, build the product, get to market. To build PAYE, time is everything. You got to time it, because if you're too late to market, you've wasted your whole life. If you're too early, opportunity is not there. There's no bigger wealth creation than...
I hope you guys are excited to get into this episode. Don't forget, if you would like to purchase an investment property in Dubai, make sure to fill out the form below and book a free consultation with me. Welcome to the Building Wealth with No Borders podcast with me, Lamide Elizabeth, where I'll be bringing you guests from around the world to share their strategies on building wealth. And today we are filming at Myriad Studios in London. So if you are looking for a professional and reliable studio, definitely check them out. And we are here with award-winning ex-finance professional and digital tech entrepreneur, Tom McNally.
Nice to be here.
Welcome to the podcast. So I will let you introduce yourself just a little bit before we dig into your story.
Sure. I'm a former investment banker, worked for State Street, a company with $28 trillion under custody, worked in fund accounting. I'm self-made. I come from a very underprivileged background, worked hard to get far in the city. I left 10 years ago where I read an article on the government change of regulation where they're going to close down their online self-assessment. So I had an idea of building an app back then, 10 years ago. App has been building for 10 years in research, 5 years R&D and 5 years building. And we are 1 year in market. We've had 10 award nominations, and we are the self-assessment app replacement. So I'm someone that's really big on tech and innovation, and I'm passionate about technology.
Wow. I'm really excited to get into the conversation because I really do like your entrepreneurial mindset. And yeah, I've seen your app being put up for. You've won a couple of, there wasn't it UK's most
disruptive fintech,
Yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah, we beat 35 billion euro companies.
Wow.
We beat some big players there. So it's a free market. The best product wins.
I love that.
Yeah, very proud of that.
That's amazing. That's so good. So good. But before that, I really want to get into understanding more about like how you grew up, like, you know, where you're from, education, how you grew up in relation to money, all of that stuff.
Sure. I think, and this is a very broad subject and controversial subject about, you know, especially with someone like Gary Economics talking about people from underprivileged background, people from poor backgrounds can't make it. And, you know, people that only are born in the elite families can make it. I grew up in poverty, grew up in Lewisham, a 10-story high rise. Single parent family, and my dad left when I was 5, stepdad left when I was 10, so no man in the house. That led me to step up and kind of take responsibility for my family. I actually had my first business idea when I was about 9 years old. Very difficult time in the house, and I didn't have any tools around me, so I just started drawing pictures. I was good at drawing pictures, so I started drawing pictures. Went to school the next day, tried to sell them. No one wanted any pictures, and on the last table on my lunch break, there was a girl that brought all my pictures for like 20p.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God, I can trade my time for money. And it was a silver coin. So back then, you know, 2p, 1p is what I'd get from my mum. And I was like, wow. So I took that 20p. I then brought t-shirt transfers of Ghostbusters, Don't Sue Me. I made t-shirts, and then I sold those for like £1. And then grew up and started painting stuff. And then from there, I've always just kept twisting and reinvested the money and kept twisting and reinvesting and not spending anything. I wanted to get out of poverty. And then had a big success at 19 with a mobile phone website. Really, really successful website when before phones was just taken off. And then I thought I need to learn how to make the big money, like how to make, like, I used to think millions was a lot of money, still is a lot of money, to be honest. I then went away and worked in the city for 10 years, got a job in the city. It was 8 interviews. It was very difficult to get into the city. And now I had these funds in front of me, and they're worth like 1.5 billion each. And State Street's worth $28 trillion of under custody. And I'm like, what? Wow, I come from a council estate where £100 pair of TNs made you rich. And I was just like, and I always kept thinking outside the box. And I was like, how do you become a billionaire? Like, what makes up a $1 billion company? And so I started really learning the stocks and learning what companies were growing fast and what were the rules of the game and the patterns of the game. And then eventually, I read an opportunity about, you know, making tech digital and government closing down self-assessment. I thought, well, that's a big opportunity. It's 12 million people every year have to file a return. The current product online is terrible, no technology. So I left the city, took a big gamble. I've had many different companies that have been successful, some making tens of millions, some more saving lives. So I have a health watch for epilepsy. So my son's got epilepsy. And I built a watch to detect seizures.
Oh, wow.
And so that was one of the companies. It's not all about money. It's about the mission and trying to help people as well. And PAYE, my latest company, as I said, winning awards, PAYE Tax, we've seen exceptional growth. We've had 100,000 downloads in the first year, half of those organic. And it's an app for people to follow their own return. It's 10 times quicker than use any other solution, and it's free to use. So that price innovation that you bring to market, that's crucial. And yeah, I just love making companies. I've got a new company every single day in my mind. I don't have to hold them back. I'm concentrating on this one company. And so, yeah, that poverty childhood has really given me the energy. And even though now I'm quite comfortable, that mindset of wanting to get out of poverty and wanting to be successful, it's ingrained in me, so I can't change.
Oh, I love that. There's so many things that you said. Firstly, so what do you think of Gary's economics?
He's a clown. He's a clown. Gary, and I would love to debate him. I've messaged him. I've said, look, with Gary, and I used to be on his side. I used to be poor and left wing, and I used to be like, this rich versus poor. I used to resent rich people and think this is corrupt, and there's this game built against us. And there's one stat here that I'll use that I can destroy his whole thesis on.
Ooh.
There's one statistic, and that's the persistent poverty rate in the UK. He always talks about poverty and lots of people struggling. The one stat that you can just really destroy his argument in is the persistent poverty rate. In the United Kingdom, the rate of persistent poverty, which is someone still in poverty after the third generation, is only 7.8%. So 92% of people in the United Kingdom escape poverty by the third generation.
By the third?
By the third generation.
Okay.
So, for example, my nan had my mum, had me out of poverty. It takes 3 generations, and that's growing quicker as technology is being democratized. So there are people in the United Kingdom that are in poverty, obviously 2 million people. What you got to look at is every year the demographic changes. Immigration. There's been 2 million people immigrate here. You don't immigrate to England and suddenly you're middle class. You have to work. But the fact is that it does work. The opportunity is there. I'll say something very controversial, and I stick by this, and I'll debate anyone on this, is I don't believe poverty exists in England.
Oh.
No, I don't believe, not by global definition. Because ultimately, the definition of poverty in the United Kingdom is a household that makes 60% of the median income after housing costs. So that means someone's paid on the housing bill and has a roughly £18,000 left over during the year. If you have £18,000 left after your bills, for me, that's not poverty. And you've got a country where you have free healthcare, free education, training programs. If you're in poverty after all those free services, it's down to your own decision making and your own lack of skills. Because I can guarantee you someone from abroad can come here and become middle class within 3 generations. So what Gary really frustrates me, because it's very damaging what he's saying.
Ooh.
He's saying that you don't control your output and it's basically the game rigged against you. And he's like feeling. And what Gary does a lot with his podcast is he gets very emotional, and he's trying to play the moral high ground. And like his idea intent isn't bad. He's trying to say that it's not great being poor and the game's rigged against you, but ultimately it's not factually true. There's so much data against what he's saying. 60% of households in the UK have savings over £1,000. 500,000 people have 20 grand in the bank. Average UK savings is £17,000. The average UK disposable wealth, household wealth after bills, is £33,000 a year. So people are living comfortably. 5 million people own their own house outright. So it's a rich country. It's a great country. Anyone can make it. It's down to your decision making, your hard work, your grit, as you and I are testimonial to. And that's becoming more and more prominent. And another stat I use for Gary is 94% of millionaires 94% of the UK's richest people, 1,000 people in the UK that's rich, all self-made. 94%. So my poverty was a blessing for me. It gave me grit, hard work. It gave me a personality. Because I have social skills. I appreciate every second, and I will succeed or die. Like, that's my mentality. Like, that's it. And that's all you need, really. It's self-made people. So Gary frustrates me. And Gary, if you're watching, give me a call.
So I actually agree with a lot of what you said. And I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I definitely feel like, I think I have. I think the UK is one of the best places for social mobility, especially from like working class to lower middle class. I actually think it's relatively quite straightforward to do.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're going down I think it's especially for certain people, if you're relatively smart, like if you could do well in education and just get a job in a certain industry, like you can go from I don't know, probably my mum was 4 kids, probably at max, maybe, I don't know, at £30,000 a year with 4 kids. And I just did well in school, got into a good university. But I don't want to sound like all of that is like super easy. But I worked hard, got into a good university, got a job. My first job out of uni was paying 50K. I was already topping like, you know, the
Above
top,
average.
like the top
above average.
income bracket. And the reason why I say, I don't want to make it sound like it's super easy, because the university that I got into, I went to the same uni as Gary. It's not easy to get into. However, even just if you compare it to America, for them to get into university, the amount of debt that they have to take on, and then for a person from a poor background to get into like Harvard and Yale, it's so difficult. Whereas even though they do have scholarships, but it's a lot more difficult. Whereas in the UK, regardless of where you study, what course you're studying, the price is the same. The government gives you the money up front. You've got free healthcare. They don't, right? So there is, doesn't mean that it's like super easy or whatever, but if you really want it, you can do it. So I think the social mobility from working class to like lower middle class is you can do it if you really want to. I think from moving from when you're within the middle class, that's where I think it gets quite difficult, because I think taxes kill you, especially if you're working a PAYE job. I think taxes really, really kill you. And if almost half of your income, obviously, yes, we know the tax rate is progressive or whatever, which we're going to talk about tax, but if a huge proportion of your income is going towards taxes, that money that you could be using to invest in the S&P 500, you could be using to buy property or whatever, to get yourself from just surviving to actually thriving. When a lot of it goes to taxes, I do think it's quite difficult once you enter that space to then continuously progress. There was something else that you mentioned that I loved. Oh, did you want to say anything on that?
I was going to say quickly on that. So there are these amazing, the United Kingdom, I agree with you 100%. It's the most amazing place to make it. It's the most equal place in the world, in my opinion. And you look at stats at the back of up and I can list them off. Your point about POA taxes, and you are right, you actually lose more than half because of national insurance, 15%. So 9% or 10% if for the employee, and the employer pays 15%, and then you have your income tax. So you actually lose more than half as you go higher rate. Your point about losing that, there are schemes out there that you can invest, not in the S&P, but in companies like mine, PAYE. So there's a thing called the EIS scheme.
Yes.
And the SEI scheme is this insane scheme where you basically get tax relief from investing in early stage startups. If the company makes it, you keep this profits tax-free. You pay no tax on your profits. If it doesn't make it, you get all your money back. You get half of your investment back as a tax refund. So you can get 100K back on a 200K investment. And also, if the company doesn't work out, you get all your money back. So you've got that no risk at all. And there's an EI scheme, which is actually the same, but you get 30% back. So all these schemes there are out there to encourage investment and to grow your wealth. And the biggest return, if you want to be a billionaire, by the way, and I've worked in the city, I know how to become a billionaire. I don't know how to, but I know how the biggest probability is investing in early stage startups. 1K in Tesla is worth £23 million after 10 years. So if you want an ROI, have some in an EIS company, you get tax back and you can become a billionaire. And you look at Revolut investors, they got 50x their investment. 50x. Like, it's insane.
I love what you're saying, because we've started talking a bit more about angel investing on the podcast. I actually made my first angel investment this week, actually.
Good luck.
And then I'm gonna become an LP in a fund as well.
Amazing.
But this stuff was all new to me, and I did not know about, and I know quite a bit about investment. Did not know about all of this SEIS, EIS stuff. That's the thing, is that it's a small group of people that know these things. Other people
that's why you're here.
Don't know.
Other people.
It is. That's what the podcast is here to do, so that people actually know these things. Because we spoke a lot about property on the podcast, and that's what people usually know about when it comes to building wealth. Because when you're younger, you might hear your mum speak about a mortgage, or you know about renting or whatever. You see it, but you don't know about
it's
the startup investing world.
And it takes a long time as well.
Yeah, exactly. And
overcrowded. It's very overcrowded property now.
And
taxes are moving against property owners. It's not really favorable for investors. Government doesn't want people to own multiple homes.
Yeah. Especially now, I feel like there's more increasing regulation. Actually, what our last guest actually spoke about this. If you come across a guy called James Gerard, that was our last episode with him, and we were just talking about how increasingly difficult it is for like DIY landlords when it comes to property. But when you were starting your business at 9 and you knew you just wanted to get out of poverty, etc., did you have people that you saw that was like, okay, this is where I'm going to? Did you have like a rich uncle? Was there something that you was looking at as like, this is my North Star? Or were you just like, I just need to find a way to make money?
To be honest, all my uncles weren't in and out of jail. I had no male role model. My uncle's advice wasn't very helpful to me as
What
a
did
young
he say?
person. He said basically, if you do a crime, make sure it's a big one. Yeah, to pay off. That was my uncle's advice to me. So thanks, uncle. Yeah, so I obviously did take that advice. But ultimately, as I said, people in the council estate that I lived in,
Mm.
there wasn't any. I'll tell you what really was a game changer for me is I had an auntie on my dad's side that would come pick me up on summer holidays, and she had like a middle class background. Her husband was an architect,
Mm.
nice house in Folkestone. That to me was rich. She owned her own house and stuff, and she said something to me that really changed my life. Mum used to always say to me, "Be polite. Don't ever ask for food or drink. Just wait till you're offered." She was like, "Be polite." And one day I was just so thirsty, and I was like, I just didn't want to ask her for a drink. And then I was like, in the end, she can see that I was like struggling. And
Dying
she was
of
like,
thirst.
yeah, dying literally. And she was like, "What's that?" I was like, "I'm can I have a drink, please?" She's like, "Why didn't you ask me?" I was like, "I didn't want to be rude." She said, "That's not rude." She said, "If you don't ask, you don't get."
Mm.
And I was like, wow, don't ask, don't get. And like I tell my kids now is you just ask for everything. You ask for it, you got there, you ask for job opportunity, you ask for work experience, and I thought, what's the worst that can happen? And obviously that, like, again, I know you talk about Rich Dad and Poor Dad, it's a great book, and I've read that, and I agree that rich mindset, it's these little tips. It's not money, it's not what Gary says, it's not this elitist protected society. It's little nuggets of information and tools that you can use to solve problems and open doors. So that was probably the most profound advice I got. And then I guess working in the city, and then I saw these CEOs, right, Elon Musk and stuff, and I followed him very closely. I invested in the stock market as well, and that they're my role models now today.
Mm.
What they do, just copy them.
Yeah, I think 'cause one of the benefits that I really had is one, I think living in London is such a privilege. I remember when I did teach first at some point, and they send you to schools. Well, I got sent to a school, like it was an internship when I was at uni. I got sent to some school, was it in Birmingham or somewhere? And like the levels of poverty there, I was like, right. And I remember like for them, a school trip was going to London, and they were like that was like the threat that teachers would use, like, you're not gonna go to
Yeah,
London if you don't do
it's
this,
a
this, and
stunning
that.
city. It's not fallen.
Yeah, and I was like, there's a walk like in my area. I grew up in Hackney. You could see Canary Wharf, and for me, that was enough. That I was like, I want to work there
Mm.
someday. I really want to work there someday. And then I think when I was in year 10, I had work experience in the city, and I was like, yeah, this looks good. I want this. So how did you transition into like finance? How did you get into finance?
So I basically again no my role models, and it's a good question that you ask. But I actually was quite good at football because on the estate that's all you do. There's no computers or TV, so I play football day. So fairly decent footballer. And then one of my neighbours got me into a Sunday team. It was for an insurance company in a bank league. So I
Okay.
was now playing football with these insurance guys, these brokers, and as I was about 15, 16, I grew up around them for a couple of years. Great team, great people, and then one of them said, "Look, we're hiring. Are you working?" I was like, "Not working at the moment." So come along for an interview, and we'll get you a job in the mailroom and beginner level. And I was like, "Okay." I
Hmm.
never even knew what an interview was, so I didn't get a letter for the interview. So I missed the first one. Second time I didn't get a letter again, so I called him up and he said, "Look, this is where it is." So I got there late. I had my own clothes on. I only knew him from football. I didn't know that this professional life even existed. Seriously, got there, and I couldn't even answer the questions. Wasn't prepared at all.
Then they said, why do you want to work here?
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, because Gary said that he's got some," and it was the worst interview. It's so funny. And then obviously didn't get the job. And when he told me in changing room, I was like nearly in tears. I thought it was a
Oh.
given. And then he said, "Look, Tommy, you got to play. It's a game. You got to play this game. Okay, you got to go and do some research. What they're going to ask you, you play the game. You say what they want to hear, right? And then you get the job." So they gave me some interviews. I went for, and this is why I said there's poverty doesn't exist in the UK. There's no poverty. Well, there is poverty by the UK definition, but in global definitions, and if you are in poverty, ultimately, I believe it's the person's fault unless they're disabled. It's a bit harsh, but let me explain reasons why. I didn't have a job at a young age. Okay,
Mm.
the government put me on a job placement scheme. They gave me training on how to interview. They brought me a suit. They gave
Mm.
me money to interview. Every ticket I paid, they gave me a refund on.
Oh,
Like they
wow.
gave me all the tools I needed to get a job. And on that job placement scheme, you had to apply for jobs. And I created a macro because I've done quite well in school and quite good at IT, that I was able to apply for like 100 different job applications within half an hour. I had these
Mm.
100 CVs. I sent all of them to local banks because similar to you, I saw the banks. I thought that's a good career. The mistake I made on that is I sent a CV to a bank in Wales.
Mm.
All the ones in London didn't reply to me. My one mistake went to Wales. They called me up. said, "Oh, sorry, you've applied to the wrong branch. It's quite far from you. This is what you need to do. Call this number." Called the number, gave a great interview, got into the city, got into Barclays, and then went from there. So
Wow.
the government gave me the support I needed. They gave me the financial support I needed. They gave me the knowledge I needed to get a job. And then once I was in the door, I haven't looked back. And I worked my way up from Barclays in retail banking into a company called Bank of New York in the city. So that was more investment banking. Then moved to State Street. Again, State Street are worth more than Vanguard and BlackRock combined, $37 trillion. And I walked in the door, and when I got there, I sat down and I just watched all these city people pass me, and I felt like I was in a movie. And I was like coming from Council Estate and looking at all these people, they were so smart and so, dressed smart and intellectually. And I was like, I just feel so lucky to be here. I just felt like this was a great opportunity. And I went in there and I chatted to everyone, and I was pricing 5 funds all over £1 billion each. And it got to a point where I was like, do you know what? I want more than this. I believe that, and it was crazy because this was the epitome of most people's career.
Yeah.
People from Oxford and Cambridge. And I was like, no, I want to be a billionaire. Like, and I know how to do it. I know what it takes to take a company from 100 million to 5 billion, 10 billion. So I believed, and I thought, I'll give it a go. If it doesn't work out, I'll come back here. If it does work out, then I'm in a dream. And it sounds funny, but I believe we live in a simulation as well. So I do believe we live in a simulation. So I believe anything's possible. You just have to go and work your arse off for it. And we're a year in market, 3 years old, and we're beating 35 billion euro companies. It's the free market. It's the greatest financial system ever created. It's the best people win, the best products win.
What would you say to someone who would say like, yeah, but you're the exception, or you're like naturally bright, you're naturally smart, that's why you find it so easy, it's not like that for me, or whatever? What would you say?
94, like I live in a park, right? And I would, being humble, I'm trying to be humble. Most people in that park, and it's a very lovely park, they're not the smartest people.
You live in a park?
Private park.
Okay.
Yeah, private gated community.
Okay.
I really feel privileged to be there. And they're great people, but they're not the smartest. They're great people. And smartest is genetic. So I'm very privileged to have, like, my real dad. I've actually even not met my real dad.
Oh.
Not even, I know who he is. He comes from a very smart family, and I've got good genetics in terms of intellect. So the stats doesn't back that up. It does definitely help me in my business, what I'm trying to achieve, being smart, having a good memory. But again, 94% of the richest people are self-made. And if you go meet these people, they've just got grit. Just grit. They just do not accept defeat, and that's what it takes. It just doesn't give up. And you look at the biggest company in the world, BYD. He was an orphan of a family of 8. His parents died. And that grit took him. He was a smart kid. It took him to create BYD, which is now worth more than Tesla.
You know what I think about this whole smart thing? Yeah, I think it can get you to a good place, like I was saying, like your lower middle class place. But I actually think that at some point, being like traditionally book smart can also hinder a lot of people, because like I see a lot of my peers and stuff, because you're so calculated and you calculate everything, and everything has to be so you don't take risk because you're so used to playing it by the book all the time, that your definition of success is, like we probably all had, like to just be some high ranking position in a firm that's like relatively comfortable. They don't take the risk that's necessary to become millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires. So I think that at some point it's actually detrimental, that it'll actually hold you back if you're like the typical book smart.
Because it says that there's a famous saying that A-star students work for D-star people, and it's so true. And it's because as you say, it's to really make that really big money, you kind of have to be deluded and kind of stupid to feel like people look at me like, oh, he's so stupid. Like, and like I've proven a lot of them wrong, and I might turn out to be stupid. I might fail. But ultimately, you've got to give it a go. You've got to take a risk. And the worst case is you start again from zero. Like I started from 14K in debt. I was on a program called Spendaholics. And I was, it's so embarrassing, so bad. I was in, like, if you're at zero now, that lady lost 25K, she's 14K ahead of me. I was in because I'm from poverty. So I got credit cards. I was trying to look rich, all the clothing, watches, just being stupid. And then I was on a show called Spendaholics, and they were like, you've got a problem. And basically I was like, oh, really?
Was this the TV show?
Yeah.
To watch that.
Yeah, don't watch it. It's so embarrassing. It's like 20 years ago. But ultimately, when they made me think about my finances, and I've realized, like, rather than, like, because when you're in debt, you're obviously paying to service the interest.
Yeah.
A very big spiral you government have it at the moment with the deficit, 80 billion deficit, and they're wasting that much money in the US, $1 trillion $1 trillion a year to service the debt. I think it's 2 trillion now. So
Mm.
it's like a death spiral.
Yeah.
So like the first thing to do is get out of debt, get to zero, then you're on a blank canvas. So
Yeah.
that's what I'd say to people. But then I realized like you can use money to make money. And I had an idea like you really shouldn't ever let money die. And people are brainwashed to consume and look like they've got money and spend and stuff. And like, I'm very frugal. Like, this top here is like from £4 from China. Like I look at value. Like I'll spend money on something if it has good value,
Mm.
but I don't waste money. Like, and that's the mindset.
How
that
did
need
you
to
make
have.
that mindset switch then from being a spendaholic?
It's when I really found out. So I kind of like started looking at the supply chains of clothes. 'Cause when in my 20s, I worked 5 jobs to
Mm.
get out of poverty. There was no way I was going to get out of poverty. I worked 5 jobs. I worked in the city in Canary Wharf in banking. And this is a job that would kill most people. People that literally there was a guy killed himself because it was so stressful. It was really demanding. I then done tax returns on the side. Done my brother's one and his friends, and then that grew. I done an eBay store,
Wow.
and I done property. I moved to my house, refurbished, kept moving, went the ladder,
Love
and
that.
then I had kids at 22, 3 kids.
Oh.
So
Wow.
yeah, really young. So that was like a full-time job. So I wanted to be a good dad, and I was a sports model as well. I was a sports model.
Love it.
So I was so busy. And then I kind of looked at the supply chains of everything. And when I had my eBay shop, and I was sourced to, because I was trying to make good margins and good business. And I realized the clothes I was buying and selling for like £100
Mm.
were like $2 to make. And I realized that everything's made in China
Mm.
at a fraction of the cost. And I was like, what an idiot. I was in 14K's debt and I really bought clothes worth probably about $100. And I realized I was being brainwashed. And this is with the tariffs you're seeing now, the true cost of supply. Even these Hermes bags, they're costing like £100.
Yeah.
So I realized first of all, I was being ripped off. And so then I go straight to my suppliers now. So I get my clothes from China. So then I realized actually it's not a good purchase to be making these. I wear a smartwatch. I don't have a Rolexes. I look for value. And the real value is investing in your business and growing that beast and feeding that beast and trying to make it bigger.
So good. So how did you, if you did, kind of like de-risk the riskiness of quitting your job? Like, or you had 5 jobs. So when you quit, did you still have maybe 4? How did you de-risk that? Because I think there will be a lot of people who may want to take the plunge, but they're like, I've got kids. I can't do it,
Yeah, so that's a very good question. Like what I did is I tested so many different avenues that I was able to look at what business would work before I jumped ship. And I had a great career, I had a good job, I had a good career path, but ultimately there was a ceiling. And I knew that all these billion-dollar businesses that I was pricing every day, that I was studying, they all only became wealthy because they were the business owners.
Mm.
As a business owner, your earnings potential is unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
Unlimited. You can go and you can scale to the world. Our app is in 169 countries in the world. So I realized that if I wanted to really create true wealth, I had to own my own business. So I had this test. I definitely enjoyed it. Sports modeling was quite good. It was demanding because I had to go gym every night. But I spent every minute of every day working from the moment I woke up. I was on the train doing work, going to a tunnel. I had to then do something different. I'd call HMRC before I left work by an hour because the hold was an hour. So I was so efficient. And I gave everything. And then I started seeing what one would take off, what had demand, what one was making good money. And then I kind of put more resources into that one. And PayPal froze, my eBay account was doing really well, but PayPal froze my funds for 6 months. So that killed my business. So that pulled away. Sports modeling was great, but it was very ad hoc. It wasn't life-changing money. It was £500 a day, but it'd be like every couple of months.
What is sports modeling? Like fashion brands?
So you
Gymshark?
basically go and you do the donkey work of a famous footballer in an advert. So they would go and do the face shots, and you'd go and do all the other cuts from far, from wide, and you'd do some skills, some close up. So it was more covering what stuff they do because you get them for about half an hour because they're so busy. So that was a good industry, very well paid. Went behind the camera for a little bit, and that was never going to change my life. And then when I done the tax returns and I kind of scaled that up and grew that, and then I realized I need to scale this even more. So I went digital and I made an app, and then that really took off. So if you want to make it, then do a little side hustle. 3 out of 4 people in the UK now have a side hustle. If you've got a side hustle, use our app, PAYE app to do your return.
I love it. So I first came across you on the Venture Rooms YouTube video, and I think the question they asked you was like, what was the most your business made in a month, which was like 1.2 million, which was great. I don't know if that number has changed now. That's great. But what did you start with?
So I start in terms of money?
Yeah.
So again, like, I kid you not, I started with 20p at 9 years old, and I reinvested that, and I got to like £5 and £20. And then I kept going, I got to £1,000 was a big milestone. I got to like 25K when I had a full-time job. When I worked in Canary Wharf, we lived at home, and then I was able to buy my first house. I doubled that to 50K. I kept twisting. A game of blackjack. Last like a game of blackjack.
Were you a flipper? Did you flip?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I bought a flat, lived in it for like 6 months a year, done it up as I lived in it, sold it, then bought another flat, done it up. Because in property, you double your money. Whatever you spend on the property, you get it back. So I was like, look, I can put money in one vehicle, do the project, live in it, have a nice house for a year or two, then move. So that got me to the 50, hundreds of Ks. I then bought a house called Havencroft, where I paid 400K for the house. And
Cash?
no,
Or you
cash,
mortgage?
mortgage. Everyone says that house, like, don't buy your own house, rent and stuff. It's like Gary, or the American guy, not Gary, Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
Was like, never buy your own house. It's ridiculous. And there's a guy in Diary CEO says it. The best investment you can make by far is buying a house. By far better than the stock market, better than any other investment, because it's guaranteed, two, it's tax-free. The average...
Is it tax-free?
Your own house. Your
Stamp duty?
Stamp duty. When you sell it, you don't pay capital gains.
Okay.
You pay stamp to buy it.
So you don't pay capital gains on your own home?
No.
Okay.
Of course, no, you don't. You got a residence relief. So what happens is that over the last 20 years, okay, the average annualized rate of growth in the property market is 10% per year. It's the same as the Nasdaq, right? One of the best vehicles in the world. But the Nasdaq, you pay capital gains when you make any money. So it's a tax-free investment. So I paid 400K for the house. I spent about 150K doing it up. I sold it for 1.4 million. Tax-free.
But you're thinking, so you're buying it as residential, but in your mind, it's an investment.
Of course, yeah.
Because the other people
Well, I lived in it for 5 years.
Yeah,
so,
you lived in it whilst you're doing it up, which is great, which is very smart.
Yeah.
But other people are buying a residential home thinking that they're just going to pay it off and that's going to be their retirement home. Which is why I think the advice comes of like, don't buy your own home. If you're enjoying this content, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And if you would like to become an international property investor in Dubai or in the UK, the link to book a free consultation will be in the description box below. If you're not quite ready to invest yet, check out the affordable video courses that will also be linked in the description box below. And if you would like to relocate to Dubai, set up your business in Dubai, or anything else related to relocating to Dubai, check out www.theprofessionalnetwork.com.
What I would say to that is, if you think about making money, okay, what is the number one purchase of most people in their life? It's a house, right? People want to make money and they're like, okay, I'll buy a nice house. Skip the middleman and all the other stuff you have to do and just buy a nice residential house, live in it, do it up, sell it, live in it, do it up, sell it. Within about 4 or 5 properties, you're probably at £1 million mark. And then really what you need to do, you've got a lot of equity because you built it up yourself. And then when it comes to retirement, 5 million people in the UK own that own house outright. So you've got no worry about cost, mortgages, government, you're in control. So what I would say to most people is, it's a very quick and easy way to make real wealth. I could go out there and I could be buying 5 properties and I could be flipping them and all stress and managing their properties. And then I've got stamp duty and capital gains. And as you know, the mortgage interest on buy-to-lets is a ridiculous rate. You can't offset the whole amount if you're a higher rate. Just don't worry about all that. Just buy your own residential house, live in it, do it up really nice, sell it for profit, and keep doing it. Within 4 properties, I went from 160K to 1.4 million in 4 properties. And during it, I had an amazing house. I had an indoor football pitch. I had a spa. You know, I had a really open plan hallway. We went viral.
Wow.
The house went viral on TikTok. It had 20 million views.
Wow.
It was on Luxury Home Show, Matt and Summer.
Yeah.
So we went viral on that, and we had offers from footballers. And then so I sold that with £1 million equity in the house. So that's a really easy way to make money in property that's safe, guaranteed, but it's more longer term.
That's interesting. I have to think about that. That's quite sick. I mean, But so what's the conditions of those houses that you were living? Was it really run
Terrible.
down?
Buy the worst you can find. The worse, the better. Because you want to get it, you want maximum margin, right? So I went in and there was like 12 different rooms. You know, it was battered because all you're looking at is the land, really. We tore the whole house down.
Oh.
We rebuilt the whole house.
Okay.
Put the VAT back on that. You know, it took about 3 years of being frugal and doing stuff myself and really stressful. But ultimately, anyone really can learn anything in the United Kingdom. You can pull people in. Once the first fix is done, a lot of it you can do yourself.
And is it houses or apartments?
Always a house.
Always a house, right?
You don't want to.
So you can add value and not okay.
You don't want to waste money every month on service charging and stuff because that stuff's extortionate now.
I love that. Okay, so talk us through your entrepreneurial journey that led to PAYE. Is it PAYE or PAYE tax?
PAYE.
PAYE. Okay.
PAYE app. And the reason why we say Pi and Pi Tax, Pi App is because if you search for Pi on Google, currently we're being outranked by Pies. So at the moment we haven't got authority yet. So Pi App, you can find us with the Pi App. Again, I'll go back to my story when I was in the council estate. I was, basically that was a really interesting incident when I was younger. When I was just so really started to go really quite deep into this. My mum lost a baby.
Oh.
Right, she lost a baby, and my sister, she died quite young, and her and her boyfriend broke up because it was really tragic. So he left, and it was a really difficult time for us. I went into the front room once, and my mum was basically cleaning. Back in the day, there was only single glazing, so on the inside you'll have like condensation, which is bad for your lungs. So she was like wiping it off the window, and I said to my mum, like, what are you doing? And she goes, she got down on her knees, looked at me, and she goes, Tommy, I'm not gonna lie to you, we're poor. Like, we're really poor. And I was like, she said it was such embarrassment and a shame. And I was like, I went away and I was like, feeling like I wanted to cry. And I went into my bedroom and I was sitting there, I was like, I don't want to be poor. What can I do? So I looked around, as I said earlier, and I saw paper and pens, and I was like, I'm really good at drawing, so let me try and draw. Sold the drawings in school. And then eventually went to boot sales and brought more stuff. I'd buy like T-shirts, I'd buy yo-yos, pogs. Don't you remember pogs? You're probably too young.
No.
And I'd keep buying stuff and selling, buying and selling. My whole lunchtime was I was just trying to sell to people. And then mum worked at old people's home, and I'd have like a stall now, and I was selling to old people, and they just want to talk to you. They don't even want to buy anything. But if you just talk to an old person and they like you, they'll buy. So I was selling like, sounds bad, but I was selling like Freeview boxes. I had like 100 Freeview channels, and I would sell that as like, oh, you've got 100 channels, unlimited TV for life. Even though it was Freeview, I sold it in a good way. And that turned to good money, and then I reinvested in something else. My mindset was anything I can see I can make money off, I'll try. And then when I had an epiphany moment, and I realized that the top 10 companies in the world all have something in common. They're all tech companies. If you want to make big money, like billions, you have to be a tech company. And I also loved James Bond. I idolized James Bond because he had all these pretty women. He had all these gadgets. And I was like, how was he successful? It's technology. He has his gadgets. And I think if you think about how we've always solved problems, it's through technology. If you think how you win wars, it's technology. If you think how you create empires. And so the government know this. And this is why they have the tax reliefs on R&D startups in America. America dominate because they have the best technology. Google, Facebook, Interest. So I thought, let me create a tech company. Let me really think about deep tech like AI, automation, data, tech features, put it all into an app and give it out to people and give it out for free. If you think about every great product in history, it's free. Think about Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, even ChatGPT, Google, Spotify was free originally. So if you really want to make $1 billion business, you have to create incredible value and give it away for free and get millions of users, because once you've got millions of users, there's other ways to make money. Instagram didn't make money for 14 years. So, and they did test this. They tried to, I don't remember this, they tried to charge $1 a year for WhatsApp, and people went crazy. They didn't understood it. So you just create, like, and our competitors like QuickBooks, Sage, Xero, QuickBooks are worth $180 billion. Sage, we beat a company called Waterclua. They're worth $35 billion. They can't ever be free because they only offer software. So we come in with first principles, and first principles is this mind-blowing strategy, and you don't copy the mistakes of the past. You create a new product, a new pricing innovation. So we've come in, and you think about Spotify. Spotify was £4 for unlimited music all month. How much was a CD back in the day? £10, £15 for one CD.
Okay.
And Netflix, how much was a Blockbuster video? You're probably too young to know.
I am too young.
You're too young. You look at me like, what is this? Blockbusters was £4 a movie, and Netflix was £4 for unlimited. So when you go to market and you want to take the whole market and disrupt the whole market, you have to undercut your competition. So that's when I realized that you do all these kind of tick these boxes and go to market. And we've had 100,000 downloads in the first year, because who's not going to take a free app?
Did you feel, when you ventured into creating like a technology product, did you feel some type of way not coming from a tech background, or would you like, that doesn't matter? Because it shouldn't.
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. Because I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer. I have no. Ultimately, how do empires rise and fall? How do football teams win leagues or get relegated? It's that leadership. It's that one person at the very top. Why is the UK just collapsing, and why is someone like Dubai thriving? Because the leadership. Now, Dubai doesn't have the biggest oil reserves in the world. You know, Nigeria, There's Omar. It was Qatar. They all have more reserves, but because their leadership's reinvest in technology and they lead the country very well. So you look at Apple, right? Apple was 90 days from going bankrupt. 90 days. Steve Jobs, he'd left the company, been kicked out, and they just collapsed. He went and set up Pixar with $3 million. He took Pixar to a $3 billion company. Apple brought him back. He took Apple from a $3 billion company to a $300 billion company, now a $3 trillion company. That one man. And you look at now since he's died, what's happened to Apple? They're collapsing. There's no innovation. AI's failed. So even though I'm not a tech person, my leadership, my ideas, my strategy, my energy, my grit, that's more important than being a tech guy. 'Cause I can pay for a developer. I can pay for a product guy. I can buy these guys and their expertise in their field. You need someone with new ideas and leadership. So that's what gives me the confidence to be successful, is getting experts, what we call is best in class. I spent £250,000 on the best designer to design it first. He designed Monzo
way.
Bank. Because people, to create a great product, a great user experience, it needs to look amazing. You think about why people love Apple. It's not the best technology. It looks the best. It's so clean. Look how good Spotify looks. Look how good Monzo. How did Monzo and Revolut beat Barclays? Revolut's worth $60 billion. It beat everyone. Overtook all these banks. Why? Because it just looks a lot better. It's a lot more user friendly. It's got more features. So we are the Monzo for tax. QuickBooks Sage Zero. They're worth about £250 billion, but they look at them. They're very not user friendly. So I come in with, how can I beat these? Let me create a product that's really good to look at. And we just rebuilt a desktop product now because we had a mobile app before. The director, he was $1,000 a day. He worked on it for 2 months. Yeah, if you want a good career, guys, design director, it's a good pay. He worked on 2 months on building the online version. And then we spent another 4 months adding all the other screens. So it costs a lot of money to make something look amazing. But ultimately, if you want to take customers from your competitors, it's got to look really good. It's got to look clean. People are very visual buyers.
So would you say then you kind of need the money up front to kind of build something that is going to disrupt the market the way you guys have?
Definitely, yeah. Because you think about HMRC, right? They collected £1 trillion in taxes this year, right? $1 trillion. They couldn't build a self-assessment app. So they decided we're going to give it to the free market. We're going to open up our APIs. So they couldn't build it. So if you want to build an app that's so complicated, tax has 10 million words on your tax code. There's 24 different income types. There's 780 fields in a self-assessment, right? It's vast. In our app, we have 4,500 screens already. So if you want to create a great product, it costs a lot of money because I'm going for the big ticket. I'm not going for a small prize here. I want to be a billion pound business. So you need the money. You need to get good people. We need bank level encryption. But I started small. I started with 20p. But I just kept for 20 years straight. I just kept twisting. Whatever money I got, I would reinvest it. I wouldn't like. There was one time when I was working 5 jobs, driving to the beach with the kids. I crashed my car. I was so tired. I crashed my car.
That's dangerous.
It is very dangerous. Of course it is. Yeah, very dangerous. But I was so exhausted from working so hard. I just fell asleep at the wheel. I woke up about 2 months ago. Met a colleague in London. And he was talking to me about social media being toxic. And I said, no, it's not toxic. If you follow the right pages, it's very positive and it's very, it can be rewarding and it can lots of good value there. During the night, I sent myself 100 emails because I woke up and had an idea and I was like, emailing myself this idea and send So the question you've got to ask yourself is if you want to win, there's a cost to pay. How badly do you want it? Like, it's like Thanos, right? In Avengers, you can win, but at what cost? I'm willing to literally put my life on the line to succeed. And that's because when I grew up in poverty, you believe that if you don't succeed, the alternative is death. Like I saw someone kill himself in my cancer estate. It was the only guy in the whole block. Like I saw the aftermath of the blood on the floor, wisdom teeth on the floor. It was that image is in my brain now. So that I'm scared shitless to end up like him. So when you get out of poverty and you make it, you're scared of the outcome of poverty. So that and for me, it's been really powerful driver. And that's why I think, like going back to Gary's economics, I believe that being from poverty is a blessing in the United Kingdom. I really believe it is because it drives you and it gives you grit.
Oh my God, there's so many things that you said that's so interesting. I don't know where to start from. Let's start with timing. How important would you say timing was to the success of your app? And yeah, because we had another guest that came on who was quite popular. His name was Max Maxwell, and he was basically saying that timing is one of the most important factors to the success of an entrepreneur's journey, and a lot of people don't factor that in. So with you, where the UK government is now pushing, for taxpayers to switch to
Digital.
third-party apps,
Yeah.
was you already doing, well, you kind of said you read something, but
10
was
years
you already
ago.
doing it and then the opportunity came out and it's like, oh wow, right place, right time? Or did you see the opportunity first, then you decided to create the app? Like, how important has timing and things that are not in your control played into your success?
It's a really good question, and timing is everything. If you think about the opportunity here, 10 years ago, right, in 2015, I was on the DLR and I read an article and it was saying government decided they're going to phase out self-assessment, a platform that 12 million people use, and give APIs to the free market. That was 10 years ago. The deadline for that to go live was around 2022. So they've been late. It's very difficult to do. It took me 10 years to research, get the money, build the product, get to market, to build PAYE. And in April next year, everyone that earns over 50K will have to use a third-party app. We've got companies coming to us saying, we've got 5,000 staff here that we can no longer process. Can you help us? Multiple companies. And the year after, it's 30K. So 80% of all taxpayers in 2027 will have to use a third-party app. We are 10x cheaper than every product. We're free. We are easier to use. We are quicker to use, and we're the best design product. So we are by far the best choice. So when that door closes from self-assessment, and we're creating social media content every single day, so people know about our product. We have 3 million views this month, 15 million views in the first quarter as well. So time is everything. You got to time it, because if you're too late to market, you've wasted your whole life. If you're too early, opportunity is not there. So you have to plan things properly. If you're going to go all in on the business, you have to plan sometimes 10 years in advance. So think about right now, like what's happening in 10 years time. Well, if you're in college right now and you're doing a job that involves knowledge, you won't have a job. So you need to apply that to yourself. Will this job or industry exist in 10 years? Because I can tell you right now, AI will take most jobs, but it will create a lot more.
Yeah.
Industrial revolution, people worried before, it created more jobs because ultimately things are more efficient.
Yeah.
And there's more demand, there's more money in the system. So the way the free market works is job creation is created out of efficiency and labor, and AI is creating more efficiency. So you have to study. You don't do a 10-year degree in an industry that will be obsolete.
How exactly? So if you have the app, will you still need an accountant? Like, how exactly does it work?
Great question. So we do both. So unlike QuickBooks, we offer accountancy advice and software. That's why we give software away for free.
Okay.
It's like imagine having a party and not charging for the party. Everyone's going to come to your party. And that one down the road is 100 quid a ticket. And then once you're in the party, we upsell a tax return check. We upsell tax support, so you can ask questions about your return. Half of all our users pay for tax support because they have a question about tax. And we 10x our cost. So if you come to us and get a tax return check, we save you around £1,000 in tax reliefs. So you don't need anyone else. You don't need an accountant. You don't need tax software. So it's one app for all of your tax. And a lot of people just serve themselves. We've got a thing called the Tax Bible, where you can get answers to any questions that you might have, and you can see videos. So that's our innovation, is that we're vertically integrated. So a bit like Tesla, because I had Tesla obsessed. The reason why they're such a great product is because they own the whole supply chain. They make the batteries, they mine for the materials. So we own all of our software and we have it all in one place.
That's good. Should you only be using it if you earn income outside of PAYE? Like, who should be using the app?
So anyone in the UK that has to file a tax return. So if you've got savings over £1,000 worth of bank interest, if you make any money on a side hustle job, if you've got any property, if you're a landlord, self-employed, 12 million people every year. So 1 in 3 adults use self-assessment. And at the moment, the current online product is there's no automation. There's 96 steps to file your basic return. So if you want to file your tax return, this is the best product in the market. We are award-winning, 10 award nominations. It's free to use, PAYE app. You go online, and if you've got multiple incomes, people have side hustles, people have employment. There's no other app in the market that can handle that. So QuickBooks at the moment, you can only submit landlord income or self-employment. If you've got any student loans, if you've got any dividends, bank interest, capital gains, you have to go and do a separate tax return. We cover every single income type in one place. So that's our USP, multiple incomes, and it's in real time. So you don't have to wait until next April to find out how much you owe in tax. You get a real-time tax calculation of money that you owe, money that you've earned, money that you owe, real-time tax, live every single day. All you do is connect to your bank account. We automatically find your expenses, we automatically reconcile your income with AI.
Nice.
So within 15 to 20 seconds, your return's done. It's so easy. We call it the Homer Simpson moment, right? It's so easy that Homer Simpson can do it. So we're 10 times easier and 10 times cheaper.
I love that. That actually sounds good. I will leave the link to the app in the description box. How would you say that smart tax decisions factor into the bigger picture of like financial freedom or building wealth for an individual or for a founder? Like, why is this stuff so important?
It's the most important part of your business. You do not want to be losing half of your revenue in tax. So you plan it at the start. You can't do tax retrospectively. You can't make your investment. You can't run your business and then down the line you're trying to save money. You know you have to plan it properly. If you think about the greatest businesses of all time, they've all got the best tax advisors. So you have to be successful with any wealth creation is you have to know your taxes. And also people look at tax as being like a bad thing. There's schemes like we talked about earlier where actually these schemes can give you a tax refund. You know, if you're paying 50K a year, you're earning 100K a year in your employment, you can get some of that tax back to invest into a startup that could 100x. So, you know, there's no one that's rich out there that doesn't know their tax.
I also really want to get into what it takes to build a successful business or to build a successful app, because you've had multiple businesses, right? But there was a story that you told on the Venture Room about beating Jehovah's Witnesses. So could you tell that story? But then do you also have any other stories of like just how difficult it is to, you know, do what you do, and where would you draw the line? Because some might say, nah, heart palpitations, like you're taking it too far, health is wealth at the end of the day, don't kill yourself trying to get wealthy, etc. Where do you stand with all of that as well?
So the Jehovah's Witnesses is interesting because it's a good example on like how I won't be beat. So like when I was running one of my businesses, I'd go and leaflet on the estate. I'd go to every door and leaflet. I was thinking, when you want to be successful, you have to think of smarter ways to work. So I think every person on that estate, they would all use the same train station. So rather than me go to every single door, I'll go to the train station. I went to the train station and one morning with my leaflets. I got there and there was like Jehovah's Witnesses there and they were in the prime spot. And everyone knows if you see a Jehovah's Witness, you just ignore them. So I was behind them. So that was like already ignoring the Jehovah's Witness. They saw me and I was like, no, I had no chance. So next day I was like, look, I can't get there a bit earlier. So I woke up at 6 o'clock. When it got there, they were there already at 6 o'clock. I was like, what? These guys aren't even making no money. They're working for Jesus. They're not going to beat these guys. So I was like, no, I'm not going to get beat. So woke up at like 5 a.m. I thought, yeah, the guys can't be there. They can't be there. It's 5 a.m. They can't be there. They were there at 5 a.m. They were setting up. And I was like, Jesus, God, literally. So next day it was like 4:30. I was like, I'm gonna go in. 4:30 is ridiculous. I was like, go. And there was a moment when I opened my eyes. I was like, do I go or don't I go? And I literally thought of the time being younger, and I thought about like I literally had a flashback of my childhood and the guy killing himself. I was thinking, this is life or death. I have to get up. So I got out of bed. I love myself. I was dying. Went there and they wasn't there. And I was like, I waited for 2 hours before I even got one leaflet given. They came and saw me and they went behind me. And then basically at first I wasn't getting much attention and much attraction. And I started saying to them, do you want a tax refund? Do you want money back? And they were like, what's this? By the end of the session, I had a queue of people who all had a question about tax. They'd maybe owed money to HMRC. Everyone pays tax. It's in such a broad topic. So everyone had a question, and I realized the demand for tax knowledge is so vast. And I got so much interest, but that was an example of like the grit that's needed to succeed. Like this Gary economics nonsense where it's about money. What made me succeed that day? No money was involved. I had the grit that I wasn't going to lose to even the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I've got lots of examples of that in my life. And so when we launched the PAYE app, we were paying a PR agency to go and do the same thing, leaflet. And I've done leafleting myself, got my hands dirty. And I was like, look, I asked my head of marketing, can you go and just monitor them and just keep an eye on them? And she was like, I don't really think it's a good use of my time. I was like, okay, fair enough. I was like, look, I need to get down on the street and listen to people and know what's going on. So for 21 days solid, I was out there with them leafleting. That's how I saw the Venture Room. I had my jacket on, the leaflets out. And it was the most valuable 21 days of my life because I sat next to people and I proposed a business and I got pushback and I found out what the problems were. What was the problem with the sign up? Why didn't they consider the app? What was their situation? Real time feedback from real people. And on the 19th day, it was raining. I was soaking wet and my leaflets were wet. And I was outside the whole day. I went into a train station in Canary Wharf. We paid quite a lot of money for it. And one of my investors that are now investor, he actually saw me and he said to me, I would back you to the moon because I've seen you, even though you're the founder, you were out on the ground working hard. One of our partners was in the Canary Wharf as well. So by the end of it, I actually solved a big problem in which was the sign up user journey. And I found out where people were falling off. Sometimes the address checking wasn't working. Sometimes they didn't want to give up too much information. And by the end of it, every day I call my guys, like, guys, we've got to remove the screen. Guys, we can't ask the information here. And we took our conversion rate from 30% to 80%.
Wow.
But that was all because I was willing to get my hands dirty and go and my marketing person should have really been there because it's so valuable to do the hard work. People are just not motivated because it's not their company. So I understand.
Yeah.
Whereas where I was.
That's insane. So where do you draw the line? Where is health wealth? Are you going to start going to the gym now? Maybe
I go to look at
get
me.
an
Look
aura
at me.
ring.
Come on. I'm not that.
Okay, maybe not the gym then, because you've already been doing that. Maybe get an aura ring, keep your blood pressure down. Or you're just like, nah, man, not until I'm a billionaire.
It sounds bad, but I'm willing to die for my business.
You got kids.
They're older. One's 18. They've had a good life. They're all right. They're gone now. They don't need me.
That's good. That's good.
They can make their own sandwiches.
I love that you say that because I think that's what you kind of want to hear from a founder that you are going to back, right? And you had a CrowdCube raise that was 250% oversubscribed or even more.
Yeah.
When are you doing your next raise? People might be interested. Maybe like, I want to back him. How do I get involved?
To be honest, we will probably not raise until next year. We're quite well funded. I funded the business myself for £5 million, so we didn't actually even need the money. They approached us, so we won a big award, global award. They approached us, said that a B2C product, a consumer product, works really well on CrowdCube because the investors become users and advocates of your brand. So they have 1.5 million investors. So we went online, had the campaign. We had no EIS or SEIS. So we didn't expect it to do so well because ultimately you're not going to get a tax refund. You're not going to mitigate the risk of losing.
Yeah.
There was no guarantee there. And we were so well subscribed because people understood that problem of tax. They know it's so confusing. It's so stressful. It causes so much worry. And there's an app here that does it all for you in one place. It makes it easier.
What was the minimum investment amount?
It's $50.
Wow.
$50. And I'll go back to the examples. There's no bigger wealth creation than investing in a startup. The guy that painted the Facebook mural on the wall, you know, he was offered like $5,000. He took the stock. They were worth $500 million. $500 million. Tesla, $1,000 is worth $23 million. So if you want to create real wealth, a proportion of your investment should be in high growth potential companies and startups. Like I believe my target for PAYE is 100x return for my investors. I want to take it from a 14 million euro company to a 1.4 million euro company. That's my target. And I'm confident I can do that. It's just the only nuance is time. It could take me 2 to 3 years. It could make me 20 years. And I won't give up until it's there. You know, it's a great product. People love to use it. We listen to customers' feedback. And I think it'll dominate the market. It's we've tried to cover every single feature that we can. So, you know, where can you get that 100x return?
I love it. And I like the sound of the app as well. I like the sound of the app. I've had my accountant on the show, so maybe I won't say that I'll use the app, but I might check it out.
Use both.
Or maybe we'll use both. One final question. So you recently turned 40. You actually look pretty good for your age, actually. I wanted to ask you, what factor do you think age plays into success? Because I don't know. Well, obviously, you know, they say that the average age of a billionaire is, what is it, like 60 or something? The average age of a millionaire, maybe 40, whatever.
50.
People have all of this stuff. But do you think that the business would have been as successful, let's say, if you started it at 28, excluding the timing as a factor in terms of what's going on in the market, just who you were at 28 versus who you are now? What do you think the difference would have been?
I don't think it's necessarily myself because I was probably as hungry back then as I am now. It's about the market opportunity. We live in a time where the internet revolution created so many millionaires, right? It created loads of millionaires. And now the AI revolution is creating so many billionaires. So if you want to make it right now, and if you're young, then the opportunity is easier now to make it because you don't need any staff. You can pay $20 a month and replace any staff member that you want with an AI agent. So the cost to produce goods, the cost to scale the goods, the marketing channels that are there for you for free, just create good content. So it's a lot easier now. So I in a way, if I had been grown up in this environment now, I would have been a lot richer, a lot quicker. It would have taken me 15 years to become a millionaire. It would have probably taken me 3. Because the tools were there for everyone. Honestly, it's insane. It's an amazing time. And you live in England, so if you don't work out, you have free housing. You know, if you don't work out, you got a roof over your head. The thing is, people don't realize how amazing this country is. You have free, your housing is your human right in England. And why do you think the boats are coming over? You know, everyone's cussing the boats and that, and it is. But ultimately, if you're a country where it's free housing, you're gonna give it a go. So you've really got no risk, have you?
True. So true. I love it. So we are going to be moving on to the Wealth Woe segment of the podcast. This is basically where one of the listeners sends in a dilemma and they want to get your advice on what they should do. So I will read. This person says, I lost 25K in a cyber scam and my job in the same month. I moved to the EU for a 1-year role, hoping for long-term stability, but now I'm under financial pressure. I asked the universe to live on my terms. I just didn't expect such a loss. I have no debt and only plan to borrow for a home. How can I rebuild? What would you say?
This is a very interesting problem. It's one that's more and more common. FX scams and online scams reached 1 billion last year. I know someone individually, personally, that was scammed at £150,000. So what I always say, the rule of 10%, if there's an investment out there that's 10% or more, it's normally too good to be true. This guy that I met at a Tesla dealership, he was making 10% a month on paper. I said, that's definitely not right.
Tesla dealership.
Tesla dealerships. He was a Tesla dealer.
Okay.
And he was talking about Tesla. And in small talk, he was telling me about his money making thing he had. And I said, how much you making? He said 10% per month. I said, that's way too much, because if you're making that much money
10% per month.
So that's too good to be true. Show me a picture of the guy. I said, how do you see your gains? He was like, it's on a spreadsheet. I said, that's not gains. Anyway, we managed to get the money out of the guy. We told him, if you give us back the 150, we'll give you 300K back. So he got greedy, he got it back. We actually made money from him. It's called the Sandbank Swindler. He actually scammed £50 million of people in Bournemouth. So yeah, really, really big scammer.
So you scammed the scammer?
I scammed the scammer.
That's good.
Yes, from South London. So you can't come from South London. What I would say with anything with this stuff is, what I learned is only invest in things that you can control. If you find someone that has this get rich scheme or is trading, he won't need your money. He won't need your money. He'll be potentially a millionaire in a few years. So in terms of the solution for this person is start again and work up the same strategy of investing, but invest in the US stock market, in tech. It's the safest, highest growing investment vehicle you can find in the world. It averages around 10% per year. If you invest only in tech stock, it's about 40% per year. So don't give up. She had the right strategy, but she just had the wrong vehicle. Do your side job, save money on the side, build up a bit of savings, and then reinvest that. But do not invest in any quick rich scheme or, this guy here is actually that we spoke about. The way I caught him was asking him a few very basic questions, and he quickly unraveled that it was a scam. So do due diligence.
Yeah.
Ask him millions of questions. Go to ChatGPT and ask.
Yeah.
And ask for receipts and proof of stuff. If you're making money, that needs to be declared. Where's your company tax return? Where's the online broker that you're using to trade? Show me the receipts. And he couldn't. So that's how we found out this guy was scamming.
Yeah, like there's so many things to this dilemma. Firstly, it's quite tragic. I mean, to lose 25K, which I'm sure, for a lot of people that can take a long time to save, and then your job in the same month and you're not even from that place is quite devastating. But I think that, and we've had these sort of situations before where it's like, I guess like you said, like if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And also obviously this podcast is about building wealth, but I find that a lot of people get caught up because they want to build wealth really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And that's how they end up in a worse position than they even started, because they're trying to cut corners, and like the only shortcut is the long way when it comes to like building wealth. If you want to get rich quick, you can scam people and whatever. You can get rich quick and make money, but that's not wealth.
It won't last.
It really won't last. So but I think that, gosh, I wouldn't know, like, because I know that I've heard that the job market is quite hard, so I wouldn't even know what to say in terms of. But what do you think
Start
about
a business.
Maybe start a
There's
business.
grants out there.
I mean, she did say that she asked the universe that she wanted to live life on her own terms. So probably
makes sense. There you go.
What would you see would probably be the best way to kind of make money?
I think all you need to do is really start with an audience. You need, because it's so easy to build products now. It's so cheap, lovable, and AI. It's so easy to build a great product with software cost of software coming down 10x. Then you have a second part of the equation, which is how do you distribute? How do you get discovered? We post every single day on social media. We have 12 channels. If you want to be successful, you need to have an audience, and then you can pick any product you want. Once you've got an audience that trusts you and you've got visibility and you're in front of people, we live in an attention economy. So ultimately, whatever you want to choose to get into in terms of industry, you need to start now with your distribution. Don't be paying Google and Facebook money every month for adverts. So I would say also, what does she enjoy? What's she good at?
Yeah.
Does she enjoy? There's no point going down the rabbit hole of an industry that you don't enjoy. If you enjoy something, you're good at it. So she's got a blank plate now, a blank slate to look at what she loves, and then going down that route. But then she needs to consider that she also needs to work hard for distribution and get discovered. And marry the two and you have success.
And I can imagine this being a great hook for like a TikTok series. Like, I lost my job and a 25K in a cyber scam, and starting a whole
Origin story.
like start a whole origin story, bring people along the journey. You've just got to get creative. And like, I'm really sorry this happened, but yeah, I think you just kind of got to.
One door closes.
You better open. You better open up something else.
That's a great point you just made quickly on that storytelling on TikTok, because people build in public now.
Yeah.
So it's a great idea to tell the story on TikTok. You're going to get viewers and then show the journey, what doors are open. So build in public.
Yeah. And also share on LinkedIn as well. I've seen people like share stories of like being, what's that word? Made redundant and stuff like that. And people actually offer them jobs off the back of just their story and stuff. So yeah, I would say maybe share some of it public if you feel comfortable, and that can possibly help. But yeah, I think that's a lesson for everyone who's listening in terms of like trying to build wealth and being careful online with all the scams that are going around. Okay, so we're going to be moving on to the quick fire money questions. 3 questions, and then you just give me the response that you want. So the first one is, what is the best investment you've ever made?
Probably, that's tough. My best investment is actually my worst investment. I put £1.6 million into Tesla.
Wow.
Yeah, leveraged. And that later turned out to be worth $35 billion. And that was tax-free because it was a spread bet. But I also had investment on the NASDAQ, and then COVID hit and the NASDAQ crashed. I leveraged it. So leverage means that a small movement where you get kicked out. I got a margin call. It crashed, the biggest crash in history. I'd covered all possible scenarios, but it was a new crash in 2020, and then recovered. And then, so it would have been worth $35 million to me, and I lost it all. I lost it all because I got leverage. I got a margin call. So had that COVID not happened, and I wouldn't been as greedy, I would have had $35 million right now and tax free. So
it's not your best investment. It could have been.
But the best is also the worst. But what I learned is more important. Only invest in things that you can control. Because I was studying the stock market. I was listening to every earnings call because I had so much bet against it. I was literally go to bed at 10, US market open, so I wouldn't even sleep. And then I was in chat rooms and I was learning about, like vertical integration and what makes a great tech company. So I learned a lot of useful stuff. And I realized no matter what I do, I can't control outcome. And it was killing me. As a quote, a famous quote in the Bible. And it says, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I can change. The courage to change, the courage to change the things I can change. The serenity to accept the things that I can't change. And the wisdom to know the difference between the two. So I couldn't change anything. And I realized that I have to accept I can't change it. And now I only invest in myself and businesses that I can control. Because if it's not working out, I'll go out there and I'll leaflet for 5 days.
I love that.
So
what verse is that?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
What book?
No idea. I see it on a tattoo once. And I was like, it's a biblical quote, I'm sure.
That's good. Okay.
Have you heard of it before? The quote?
I have, but I can't. I should, but I don't know. I don't know. But I think so, yeah. I'll check.
It's a good but it's
listen. I love the idea of it though.
If you listen, the biggest cause of mental health is stress. So, but you shouldn't be stressed because ultimately, if you can change something, just find a solution, work towards a solution. If you can't change it, then just accept you can't change it and move on. And then you shouldn't get stressed, should you really?
It's true.
Sounds easy.
Yeah. Okay, what's the biggest money mistake you've ever made?
Again, investing in the stock market.
Okay, give us another one then.
A biggest money mistake I made was probably spending 20K on Google ads. In a month, yeah.
For PAYE?
For PAYE, yeah.
Yeah, you found it was better to use your own
Exactly,
marketing.
yeah. So again, you want to be vertically integrated. You want to own all of your own supply chains and own the whole supply chain. And rather than pay 20K now, we create our own content. We create great content. We have podcasts, we have tax tutorials, and we get like more views and more downloads and users organically for free than we did by paying Google and Facebook 20K a month.
I can see how that would be the case. Okay. And then lastly, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who's trying to build wealth?
Dream big, as big as you can. Like every billionaire out there is pretty much self-made. 94% of the top richest people in the country are self-made. So think really big and go for the bigger wins, because if you fail, you're still probably in the hundreds of millions. So do something that can scale and look at technology, look at software. How can you digitalize your service? How can you create an app or a software program or something that can go to globally in the world very easily? So think as big as you can because the tools are there to make it.
I love that. I love that. And listen, this is a call out for Gary's Economics on behalf of Tom. If you guys want to have a debate, I'd be happy to.
Gary, You've been talking smack. Come and debate me. Stop.
I'd be happy to share it. Okay, so to close out, where can they find you? Where can they find PAYE? Where do you want to send them to?
So guys, if you need to file a tax return, go to PAYE.tax or search PAYE Tax in the App Store. You can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram. We have a podcast called the PAYEcast. Every single week we do tax tips and wealth tips that could save you money.
Perfect. I'll leave the link in the description box. Thank
Amazing.
you.
Thank you so much.